Makers, Sierra here with Sierra's Crafty Creations, and today in this tutorial we're going to be making my Bronx beanie pattern. For this pattern you're going to need a size 4 worsted weight yarn. I'm using I Love This yarn by Hobby Lobby in the linen color. You're going to need approximately 200 yards, so a little over half of this one skein. You're going to need a size 5mm H crochet hook and 1 stitch marker. In this pattern, we're only going to be using 2 stitches. We're going to be using chains and half double crochets. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, friends. We're going to grab our yarn and our hook, and let's go ahead and get started. First things first, you're going to want to create a slip knot. And I create mine by looping it over my index finger and pinching it with my thumb and middle finger to create a loop. Then take this tail over here and wrap it around. And I'm creating another loop here with my finger, and I'm going to take this tail and push it through this loop here and pull it through. I'm holding on to the top loop with my thumb and my index finger, and I'm just going to tighten that, and we're going to put our hook through like that, and we can pull this side to tighten it and then pull this side to loosen. So now that we have that on our hook, we are going to chain 62 stitches, and you're going to chain by grabbing your yarn and pulling it through this loop here. And that's 1 chain, and we're going to do that until we have 62. So grab your yarn, pull it through. That's 2, 3, 4, and just keep doing this until we have 62 chains. Alright, and once you reach your 62 chains, we are going to connect this end with this end to create a circle, and that will be the base of our hat. We're going to slip stitch this end to this end, and the biggest thing that we want to try to avoid is not twist our chain here. So we don't want it to look like this. We want it to all be facing the same direction. So you can see these little V's here. We want them all to be facing the same way. So what I like to do is take this end. I'm going to keep my crochet hook in this, and then I'm going to take this end and I'm going to rotate it. So instead of putting my hook here, I want to rotate it and flip it upside down and put it here. And this should keep your chain straightened and all of the stitches facing the same direction. So you're going to grab your yarn, pull it through there, and then pull it through this hook as well, and that is going to be a slip stitch. So now we have our chain, it's not twisted, and we have our circle, and this is what the base of our hat's going to be. And if you, at this step, if you want to double check to make sure that this fits around your head and that it's not too big and it's not too small, because this is going to be the start of our band. So if it's too big, we might want to take some stitches out, and if it's too small, we might want to add some more stitches. So if you need more than 62, you can add that by wrapping this. Once you get to the step, put this on your head and see if it fits. We want it to be fit over your head, a little loose, but not too loose. And this hat pattern is good because you can always add and subtract stitches as needed to fit your head, but 62 should be the right amount for the average adult size head. So let's go ahead and move on to our next step. This is where you're going to need your stitch marker. And what we're going to do is start working in these. We're going to start working in these stitches here. This is where we're going to do our half double crochets. And typically in other patterns, to create a half double crochet, you would chain 1 or chain 2 even. But for this hat, we're not going to do any chains because we don't want to create a seam. So once we've slip stitched our 2 sides together to create our circle, we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook 1 time, and we're going to insert our hook into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. So this same stitch right here, we're going to insert our hook. We're going to grab our yarn, pull back through, and we'll have 3 loops on our hook, and then we're going to yarn over our hook again and then pull through all 3 of those at once. and that creates your first half double crochet. And this is where we're going to place our stitch marker. So I like to pull up a little bit to create a nice big loop here and take my hook out. I'm going to grab my stitch marker and go through the very top 2 loops here. And that's where we're going to want our stitch marker to be, because that indicates the very first stitch of our round. So that helps us keep track. So I'm going to put my hook back in this loop here, and I'm going to keep going. So the next stitch we have is right here. We're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch. We have our 3 loops. We're going to yarn over our hook and pull through all 3, and that's our second half double crochet. And you're going to keep doing this for each stitch around, so you'll have 62 half double crochets, and we will stop once we get to the stitch marker here. So again, we're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, have our 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. All right, and we will keep doing this, and I'll meet you at the stitch marker. We're coming up on the end here, and I just wanted to show you this last space here. We want to go right here and create our last half double crochet, and here's our stitch marker indicating the start of a new round. And you can always go through and count how many stitches you have. So this one will be our first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, and you can count to make sure that you have 62. We're going to take the stitch marker out, and we want to be sure that we're putting our next stitch right here where we took our stitch marker out. And again, we're not going to be slip stitching or chaining for this pattern so we don't create a seam. So we're going to just continuously work in the round. We're going to yarn over, insert into that same stitch that we took our stitch marker out of, so this one right here, yarn over, pull through, have our 3 loops, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And now we just created this stitch. This is going to be the first stitch of the round, so we're going to take our stitch marker and put it right here in that stitch we just created. That way we know that's the first stitch of the next round. So the round we just did was round 1, and now we're going to be on round 2. And we're going to just be putting a half double crochet in every stitch around. So you'll again have 62 half double crochets. So you're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch here, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. And you're just going to be placing half double crochets in every stitch around and doing the same thing we did when we got to the stitch marker. We're going to remove it and then keep going. Once you put your first stitch there, you're going to move the stitch marker into that one. So this is our first round, this is our second, and we're going to keep doing this round 2 until we reach 14 rounds. So placing a half double crochet in each stitch around. And I'll meet you back at the stitch marker so we can go over that one more time, and then I'll meet you back on round 14. And we are on our last stitch of round 2 right here, the stitch right before the one with our stitch marker. So we're going to create that one, and now we're at our stitch marker, so this indicates round 3 we're starting. So we're going to take this out, and we're going to place a half double crochet in that stitch that we just took the stitch marker out of, create our half double crochet, and now we're going to place our stitch marker in that stitch. And this indicates the first stitch of round 3. Now hook that one back in there, and we're going to keep going. So again, placing a half double crochet in each stitch, and we're just going to keep doing this until we have 14 rounds total. And this is how you can see the different rounds. We have round 1, 2, and now round 3. So you can write this down on a notepad, keep tallies. That way you know for sure you have 14 rounds, and I will go ahead and meet you when we get there. Alright, once we reach round 14, we're gonna have this much. It's gonna look like a really thick headband at this point, and this is going to be our double brim portion. And how we're gonna create that is we're going to take the bottom and fold it inward like this until we have it lined up with the top here. I'm going to show you what the inside will look like. So we took the bottom and we flipped it up inside. So this will be the double brim. This will be the bottom of your hat, and we're going to stitch through both sides of these to connect them. So again, if we have it flat like this, we're going to take the bottom. This is our tail that we started with, our bottom. We're going to flip it inward and up until we line it up with this. And we're going to take our crochet hook and we're going to hold both pieces together like this. We're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, and then we're also going to insert into the stitch behind it so that we're going through both sides. And then we're going to create a half double crochet as normal, and we're going to do that all the way around. So we're going to insert through this portion and through the back, creating a half double crochet in each stitch. And as you can see, that's going to connect this panel and this panel together, and it's going to connect it all the way around, and this will become our double brim because it's double the thickness. And this is how the bottom of the hat will look, and so you can see how thick and squishy that brim is going to be. So again, we're going to just place a half double crochet in each stitch going through both panels like so, and do that all the way around until you get to your stitch marker. And we have come to our stitch marker here. This will be our last stitch to connect both sides. So I have one stitch open here and here. So we're going to go on this side and grab it here. And we're going to create our last half double crochet. And we're going to put our stitch marker. All right, and now you can see this is the inside, and this is what our brim will look like. These double brims are super duper cozy and keep your ears nice and toasty, and they're just super squishy. So I absolutely love the double brim look, and we're going to go ahead and finish the body of the hat. So this was the first round that we just did, connecting both sides. That was our first round of the body. We're going to do 15 more rounds, so a total of 16. That was our first one. So we're going to do 15 more. So you want to keep track again, just like we were before, using our stitch marker to indicate the beginning of each row. And you're just going to do what we were doing before and placing a half double crochet in each stitch. So we're going to do that again for a total of 15 more rounds. And again, keep track whether you're keeping it on a scrap piece of paper or on your phone, tally marks, however you like to keep track, so that you know that you've done your 15 rounds. All right, and once you do your 15 additional rounds, your hat will look like this. So here's our brim right here, and then here's the body of our hat. And we're going to take our stitch marker out. And this is where we're going to do decreasing to close up the top of the hat. For this round, we are going to do a half double crochet decrease over 2 stitches. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, insert it into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to yarn over, pull through all 5. Now put your stitch marker in that first stitch, and we're going to be doing that decrease all the way around. So yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, have your 3 loops, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through all 5. And that's your second decrease. And you're going to keep doing that over the next 2 stitches all the way around. And I will meet you back at the stitch marker. All right, and we're at our last 2 stitches here before our stitch marker. So we're going to half double crochet decrease over those 2. And now for the next round, we are just going to place a half double crochet in each of those stitches. So we should have decreased our stitches by half, so you can see it got smaller up here. So we had 62 stitches to start, so we should have 31 stitches now. So we're going to just half double crochet normally. So in this opening right here, this is the first stitch. We're going to create a half double crochet, and that's where we're going to place our stitch marker back. And you're just going to put a half double crochet in each stitch around, and again that should be now 31 stitches total. That's what your hat should be looking like at the top. Now you can see it starting to get smaller, and we are going to do another decrease round. So we're going to remove our stitch marker, and we're going to half double crochet decrease over the 2 stitches. So again, that's yarning over, inserting, yarn over, pull through, yarn over your hook, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through all 5. And then you're going to place your stitch marker back here. We're going to half double crochet decrease over 2 stitches all the way around, and then you'll have 1 stitch left right here, and you'll just put a single half double crochet there. Since we have 31 stitches, it's an odd number, so we'll half double crochet decrease over 2 stitches all the way around until our last stitch here, and we'll just put 1 half double crochet there. And we came up on our last stitch here, place a half double crochet in that very last stitch, and that will be it. And the top of your hat will have this opening about this big, and we're going to grab some scissors and give yourself about 12 inches of tail, and we're going to cut. We're going to cut our yarn, and we're going to tie off, which will just be taking yarn, pulling it through this loop all the way and pulling up to create a little knot there. And then we're going to use our crochet hook and go in these top stitches, just bringing your yarn, this little tail that we have, through. So insert this way, pull your yarn out this way, and we're just going to do this all the way around for each stitch. And this is the last stitch here. And then once you weave them through, you're going to pull this, and it will cinch this close. And then I like to just give it a knot to secure. Alright, so you have the top closed up, and it'll look like that. And then we'll flatten it out so that you can see. And that is what your finished beanie will look like. All right, and if you want to take your hook and go through the top there, the little hole that we have at the top, right here, and grab your yarn and pull it through. And then you can turn your hat inside out. And then here I also like to knot it. And if you're attaching a yarn palm or a faux fur pom, you can attach that. And if you have a yarn needle, you can use it to weave in your tails, or if you just want to use your crochet hook, you can flip your hat inside out, go through a few stitches like this, and pull your yarn through, and do this a few times in a few different directions. And then once you pull it through and hide it in a few stitches, we can cut the excess off. You know, cut it off here. Now your hat is finished. Like I said, you can add a pom-pom to the top or leave it as is. This is a great unisex beanie, one for everyone in the family. But that's it, you guys. This is the Bronx beanie. You can find the pattern on my blog for free, or if you want to get the ad-free PDF version, all that will be linked down below for you. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'd love for you to share your Bronx beanies with me on Instagram. Find me at Sierra's Crafty Creations and tag me. I'd love to see all of them. All right, but that's it for today, guys.